Today, I was attempting to start a fire with a bow drill. I found a piece of standing deadwood from the side of the trail. It was hardwood, and I didn't feel it would suit my needs. I found this piece, and though it wasn't standing, it seemed pretty dry. This was softwood, and was going to suit my needs. Tulip Poplar. The large piece would be the hearthboard, and the smaller piece would be the spindle. From this piece, I made a mallet, and that bottom section became a handhold. This piece would end up becoming the handhold. My original intent was to split this all the way down. What I ended up with reminds me of the lazy man's bow drill from Corporals Corner. I'll post a link in the description. I flattened the back. I moved on to the spindle. Upon inspection, I started to notice that bugs had eaten through the wood. I wasn't sure it was going to work, but I went ahead and finished it up. You could see where the bugs had burrowed through the wood. I cut a place for the top of the spindle to sit in the handhold. These are the pieces I ended up with. At this point, I had probably put about 30-40 minutes in. I collected tinder. I really wanted to find some cedar, but was unsuccessful, so I worked with leaves, pine needles, and grass. The piece I'd collected for the spindle was not going to work. so I chose to use a spindle that I already had. I cleared away the black, hardened wood. For some reason, and I'm not quite sure why, I started to seat for the spindle on the hearth board towards the inside. This is my third successful attempt at a bow drill. My first was sometime in my 20s, and that set wasn't made by me. The second was just a few days ago. This one will be my third. My success is largely due to watching two videos. One that I mentioned earlier from Corporals Corner, and a second from the gray-bearded Green Beret. I'll post a link to that video as well in the description. One of the takeaways from the videos I watched was to not let the hearthboard lie directly on the ground. I tried separating it with some dry leaves. Immediately we could start seeing a couple problems. One, the cord on my bow seems to be a little bit loose. And two, right here, the spindle goes flying out of my handhold. I believe this is what they refer to as shouldering out. As the top of the spindle wears down, it no longer sits very well in the divot. Right here I do a check. You can see that the wood is starting to turn black, dark brown. That's a good sign. At this point I'm going to stop and carve a notch. That's the beginning of the notch I'm going to carve. In all the videos I've seen, the bird's nest is made and then set off to the side. Later, the ember is transferred to the bird's nest. I'm not sure of the reason for this. I'm sure there's a good reason, and I'm sure I'll learn what it is later. The other day, on my second successful attempt, I noticed part of the problem I was having was every time I had to stop, the dust would be disturbed. And from what I understand, the dust is the fuel. Putting the bird's nest underneath seemed to hold the dust in place, which I attributed to my success, both then and today. Every time I need to stop, I resharpen the point at the top of the spindle and clear away the hardened black part that has cooled down the base of the spindle. Now it's time to start trying to make an ember. Note the cord is loose at the end of the bow. This quickly bothers me. I decide to stop and give it the attention it deserves. Again, one of the takeaways that I got from the videos is to stop and address things in the moment and not keep pushing a bad position. I shoulder out again. I could actually feel the spindle wearing down as I was going. When I started, it was at a nice point. You could see how far down it went. I took the time to clean out the handle, sharpen the top of the spindle, and again, clean off the black and hardened wood at the bottom. I'm sure as I progress, we'll learn all the ways that my technique leaves a lot to be desired. I'm definitely struggling a bit here. Upon stopping, I noticed that the smoke did linger for a little while. It seems like I had the beginnings of an ember, but it quickly died. Seeing as I shouldered out again, I sharpened the end of the spindle one more time, cleared off the end, tightened the cord on my bow. This time, I took a little bit of green matter, put it inside the handhold with some spit and even a little bit of dirt, in hopes to lubricate and keep it from burning in. My bow slipped very low on my spindle. Again, instead of wasting energy and pushing a bad position, I reset. Some things to note here. Things aren't really going that well. I'm tired. The bow drill seems to be clunky, but the notch is filled with dust. And even though I'm not going that well, and for that long, I end up getting an ember. Again, my nest is actually under my hearthboard. I separate the ember from the notch to give it some room to breathe. And I gently waft it. Here I'm just trying to let the ember grow. At this point, I picked up my bird's nest and folded it around the ember. I wasn't very happy with the tinder nest. I really wish I would have found some cedar. I could have also gone into the laundry room and got some lint, but I really wanted this to be made with stuff that I had just found, other than my axe and the cord for the bow. Normally, I would hold this above my head slightly and blow into it, but I was trying to keep in frame. I can see the ember growing. At this point, the flame is just a matter of time. The whole process probably took me about 2 hours. Success. Thanks for watching.